Hi, everybody. This is Joe Ryan again. Thank you for watching this. And this is, I believe, day 50. Who knows? It might be day 200. I don't know. But this is the last semester that I'll be teaching as a full-time college professor at Los Angeles City College. And I just wanted to tell you something about my day. So I just taught an ESL 5A class, and this is getting to the end now. We only have four more actual classes, and so we're getting to the end. Today we studied grammar, and we did noun clauses. I did not do a good job on it, to be honest. While I thought it would be somewhat of a challenge, I really didn't break it down completely the way I wished I had, and so they got more of a piecemeal rather than a fully realized lesson. But as I said to them, if you realize that clauses are a group of words with a subject and a verb, and you understand that um, some clauses are dependent and other clauses are independent, and then you realize that we make sentences by putting these clauses together, or in the case of an independent clause, having it alone and separate, then you would learn a lot. And I think what I did was try to crystallize in their minds like what they were trying to learn here, and just to make it as simplified as possible while the subject matter itself is not that easy. And I've always shied away from doing adverbial clauses, noun clauses, and adjective clauses as being kind of deep grammar that students don't really need. But what it leads to in the case of noun clauses is the use of direct and indirect speech, in other words, quoted and reported speech. And that's the next part of that lesson. And I think that will help students to understand like how to manipulate language and to use it for their, you know, to grow in their use of it. So I always like that. Whenever you do a conversion, you go from in your mind from the present to the past, or from the present perfect to the past perfect, or going from active voice to passive voice. By making that kind of conversion in your thinking, it really helps you to learn. I really think it's part of the myelination process, meaning that it builds neuron paths that help you to get to a more deeper understanding, deeper understanding. And so whenever I get to these things, I always try to tell the students, don't worry if you're not getting it. What you really need to do is just try to study it a little bit. And if you just get these really simple concepts, at least somewhat in your head, then you'll be able to use them more effectively in the future. And I said, and it'll help you to build your abilities in English. And I also promote the idea that they already know how to do this. They just don't know how to do it formally with a grammar book. So, that's kind of my thesis of my teaching, and that's what I tried to emphasize today. But we had a good time. After that, we took a break. There were a lot of students that wanted to know about grades, and they wanted to know how to submit things, and they wanted to know about writing. So I dedicated the break time to making sure that I answered questions and put students at ease in terms of grading, et cetera. Here. So that was effective, to do that. And it's a good idea for me to sit at the computer and work with them and get it out of the way, so that they don't have a lot of anxiety, and I don't have to deal with them later when things can be a little bit more time consuming and not as efficient. So that's good. Efficiency, really big part of my non my teaching. Why I'm leaving teaching is because of my lack of efficiency. I wish I'd learned that earlier, but it just seems to be my method. Okay. So anyway, then afterwards we read Ping Lao, one of my students, her essay, the first four paragraphs on the book that we're reading called The War Between the Classes. And I really needed to show the students what the next step was, because they wrote their introduction paragraph and now they're going to add the three body paragraphs. And Ping had already completed hers, and I knew that it was really good. And I also knew that if the students read it and were actually told what to do, but using that as an illustration of what they needed to do, that they would really, understand and embrace the assignment. And so she read the first paragraph, and the students were blown away. And by the way, their reactions were so complimentary to Ping. She must have felt sky high because it was incredibly um, generous of the other students to praise her so highly. And she, with good reason, she wrote beautifully. And the idea of butterflies, coming from cocoons, which is kind of the essence of her paper, and the idea of Amy as a catalyst, creating chemical reactions in others, creating action in other people, is kind of like what it boils down to, was really marvelous to hear. I mean, I that's why I love these students. They're generous, to each other and to me. And then we went through the body paragraphs, and I stopped them to make sure that everybody knew what a topic sentence was and how to craft one, and to make sure that they used it in their writing. And I emphasized over and over again how important it is to organize correctly. And I said, if you get the organization of an essay down, the next part is just doing the actual, you know, presentation of evidence, which is not hard to do once you have kind of the outline and plan. Of course, Ping is a super student in that she read the book 2 times and she outlined the essay before she read it the second time. So the first time she read it just for the pleasure of reading it. The second time she read it trying to find people who changed in the book. And sure enough, she found it. And so that really guided her paper. And so far, it's been really great. So I appreciate her efforts. I also appreciate the fact that she let me read it in front of the whole class because, and I didn't read it, she read the first paragraph and then Araxia read the next three, or the next three, I think she did. And it was great. I love it when students actually can read effectively in front of each other because it shows that they know a lot. And it also shows that, their ability to like sit and read has really advanced a lot since the first time I met them. And so I emphasized to them how much they've learned already in the class. And that's not just apple polishing on my part. It's like really trying to give them a raison d'etre. The idea that they're studying is that they're learning, and I can see the evidence of their learning by what they say in class and how they write and everything else they do. So that's been very exciting. So today, the sadness is the ending of this whole project, but the great part of it is that I'm ending it with such great people. So, it feels kind of like a death, but also a resurrection. 'Cause I'll resurrect in some form. I'll come out of my cocoon at some point and become a butterfly. What that's going to look like, who knows yet? But I think that's really important.